we could. Thank you for being here today. I want to welcome everybody here to the Leonardo as we celebrate Archie and Lois for all of their accomplishments and their achievements over the years. But before I do that, I definitely want to acknowledge all of you who are here. Everybody here in this room has been impacted, has been touched by the work, the spirit, the family that Archie and Lois have created here in this community. It would take an entire afternoon for each and every one of us collectively to describe all of the achievements and all of the work, all of the voice that these two individuals, these powerhouses, this couple have done in this community. So in the interest of time, I would also like to make sure all of you know how meaningful this is for me personally. As somebody who works for city government with Mayor Biskupski, I had the opportunity to first meet Archie through my dad, Chuck. He was kind of one of Archie's henchmen, I'd say, in the Chicano movement here. But I first walked into Archie and Lois's home when Archie was running for the city council here in Salt Lake City. And actually, those were the first doors I ever knocked on, Archie. So there's been thousands since then. But thank you for inspiring me. And the work in city government, knowing that I walk the hallways and the staircases that you walked all those years ago, and Lois, the opportunity to serve on the board at the Salt Lake City Library, to know that I've been a part of your legacy is really powerful. It's meaningful for me. Definitely want to make sure that all of you who are here today have the opportunity to shake their hands, to give them a hug, and to welcome them as well. I'd also like to acknowledge some of our elected officials who are in the audience today. I see Senator Gene Davis, Representative Angela Romero, Councilmember Andrew Johnston, and of course Mayor Jackie Biskupski. Thank you for being here today. And with that said, I will call this opportunity to celebrate our two heroes today to order.
I'm going to try not to cry. Thank you, Nate. And thank you to you and Simone and anyone else who really helped pull this event together. This is truly a moment in time that I think most of us are grateful it is happening. All of us are grateful it is happening. Thank you for joining us today. The opportunity to bring people together in recognition of members of our community is truly one of the highlights of my job. Since taking office, I have used the key to the city to acknowledge and celebrate individuals who have used their voices, skills, and resources to improve the local community in a significant way. For me, the key to the city is not merely a token given to visiting dignitaries. It is and should always be a gift that we honor our city and those who make a difference here. I have only presented 4 other keys with this type of distinction: celebrating local contributions to arts and culture, community preservation, and civil rights. I think it is safe to say that the key I will present today to Robert Archie Archuleta and Lois Lucille Archuleta falls into all of those categories. For decades, Archie and Lois have been a force in our community as educators, advocates, and certainly mentors. Lois and Archie have built a support structure for some of the most marginalized individuals in our community through their work on countless boards and for a wide variety of organizations. I want to highlight just a few of those. Together, Archie and Lois helped transform the Utah Coalition of La Raza, both at the board level and as advocates. Lois' commitment to veterans as an auxiliary member of the American GI Forum has helped bring more women into notable roles. Archie's perspective as a member of the Utah Aging Commission has ensured everyone in our community is represented in public policy. Together, their willingness to give time, energy, and insight to Crossroads Urban Center has moved forward our work on homelessness and affordable housing. Whether it's Head Start, Centro Civico, Methodist Women, or Concerned Citizens Committee, one common thread has been that Archie and Lois have stood side by side and supported each other as they help build a more equitable city. Their advice and conscientious example of a life of service has also inspired generations of leaders, including myself, Nate Salazar, David Litvak, Jennifer Seelig, and Representative Angela Romero, whom you will hear from in just a moment. Their advocacy and willingness to speak truth to power has given a voice to those who are often forgotten or unheard. Our our city's west side, students in our schools, those experiencing homelessness, and our multicultural communities all have a stronger voice in the halls of power because of Archie and Lois. And their willingness to build bridges between social movements has made our community stronger, and it is certainly why I crossed the path of these two individuals 20 years ago. Whether it is La Raza, Equality Utah, or the NAACP, we have all found a partner in this dynamic couple, and we have accomplished more because of it. Now I'd like to invite Lois and Archie's daughter, Lucienne, to say a few words about her parents, and following her, we will hear from Representative Angela Romero, and then I will return for the formal ceremony. Thank you.
Hi. I was asked to introduce my parents and give my perspectives of growing up with community activists. I need these. My name is Lucienne Archuleta, but everybody calls me Chin. My mom and dad are Archie and Lois Archuleta. I'm the fourth of five children, and they have 6 grandkids. My parents were married in 1958, and they will be celebrating their 60th wedding anniversary this year in November. When asked to introduce my parents, I had to think about my family experiences and my perspectives of growing up with both parents being community activists. As a kid, I didn't know what that meant. It was just how things were. I remember many things about growing up with Lois and Archie. One of them was, for years, we had to boycott iceberg lettuce and grapes. As a child, I would ask why. And I was told because of a man named Cesar Chavez. He was helping the workers get better pay, and they would and have a safe and good place to work. But the one I remember the most of them was Crossroads Urban Center. My dad was on the board in many capacities, including the chair. There were times when my parents would be gone because they were helping do something at Crossroads or helping somewhere within the community. I remember being with Mom at her church when the United Methodist Women's Group would always talk about how to raise money for Crossroads or who was going to work at the Crossroads thrift store. As children, we were always helping Mom and Dad and the other ladies with their projects with the church. My mom worked at the city library here for over 20 years, and I loved going to see her at work with Dad. He would take us. My parents taught me to love books, appreciate art, music, and the world around us. My dad worked for Salt Lake City School District for years. He also worked for Mayor Anderson in minority affairs. Dad has been on many committees, and he's received numerous awards for all his work within the community. If you happen to be out with Dad, be prepared to stop and talk to many, many people who will stop you. Growing up, I came to realize how many contributions and the impact my parents had on our community. But as a child, I did not like sharing them. They did this and managed to raise 5 children. They were always a team. I've learned so much from them. Most of all, they taught me to help those in need, to be compassionate, to have dignity, integrity, and humility when things are at their worst. That we are all human, and all of us have a voice and should be treated with respect. It was really hard to have an objective perspective about them. They are community activists, humanitarians, but most of all, they're my mom and dad, Lois and Archie.
If anyone knows me, they know I fall and bump into walls and a bunch of different things. So I'm going to kind of speak from the heart, but I wrote down a quote because I was thinking about the mentorship Archie and Lois have provided me throughout the years when I moved from Tooele, Utah to the big city in 1991. And Archie's kind of always been there. And this quote kind of sums up the two of them. And Lois has always been there as well. They're a team. You see them, they're side by side all the time. Every moment is an organizing opportunity. Every person, a potential activist. Every minute, a chance to change the world. And that's Dolores Huerta. And so people always talk about Cesar Chavez when they're talking about organizing in the Latino community, but they always forget the woman that was right there next to him, who was Dolores Huerta. And Archie always reminded me of that, and so did Lois. These two always believed in me when I was this, as Chuck would say, this punk child up at the University of Utah. And my favorite story about Archie and Lois is how they met. And Archie would always tell me stories when we were working together in the city mayor's office. I'm like, how did you and Lois meet? And he's like, it was at summer camp. He goes, I was washing dishes because I was a teacher and I had to find something to do in the summer to live. And Lois was a camp counselor, and I saw her and I knew she was the one. And I just love that story because when Archie talks about Lois, his eyes light up. My first real job, I've worked for the city for 17 years. My first real job is because of Archie Archuleta. He called me up one day. He's like, hey, Mayor Anderson's looking for someone to oversee the youth city government program. He goes, do you know anyone? And I'm like, well, I need a job. He's like, send in your application. And the next thing I know, 2 weeks later, I'm working in the city mayor's office side by side with Archie. Another story I want to talk about Lois and Archie, well, Archie in particular. So my son's 22 now, so I've known them since my son was, before he was even conceived. And my son would always tell me, I know I'm a grown-up mom when I'm as tall as Archie. That happened about 8th grade. And I'm like, I don't know if you're a grown-up, son, just yet. The other thing I want to talk about is the way Archie and Lois have always made me feel like I'm part of their family. As Chim pointed out to me when we were sitting there, she's like, you're one of us. Because I've always kind of been around and kind of inserted myself in their family. And so Archie just lives down the street from me. And my son and I will just go down there, pop in, and I've just always love that about them because I'm from, again, Tooele, Utah. My grandma doesn't drive, so if I'm not driving out to Tooele, I'm not surrounded by my family. And Archie and Lois always made me feel like I'm a family because we can talk about their accomplishments and all the things they've done, but really who Archie and Lois are is they're just loving, kind people who want everyone to feel like they're part of something. And so they made sure that I felt like I was part of their family. And even if I messed up, which I do all the time, Archie's like, when are you going to get back up? What are we going to do about this? And there are not many people that will be there for you when you're in your lowest part of your life to when you're at your ultimate high. But, these two always have been there for me, so I just want to say thank you. And the last thing is they work as a team. And both of them have committed their lives to public service. And I just want to model them, and so that's why I've chosen a life in public service. And I just want to say, Archie and Lois, I love you, and I appreciate all you've done for us and the community. And I could highlight a bunch of stuff, but I just want to talk about you as two people who want to change the world, but it's changing a community in a neighborhood one day at a time. So I appreciate all that you've done for me, and I am the person I am today because of your mentorship. So thank you.
That's so great, Angela. Thank you. I want to add one thing that I thought would be nice for you to know, and that is my son Archie took a photo with Archie over at Library Square, right over on those steps. And he was about 3, and they're in a conversation in the photo. And that photo is on my son's wall. And he leaves it up there, and he looks at it every day. And he knows you. Yeah. And that matters. So thank you for touching his life. On to business. Jacqueline M. Biskupski, Mayor of Salt Lake City. Key to the City presented to Robert, Archie, and Lois Lucille Archuleta, October 11th, 2018. As Mayor of Salt Lake City, I present the key to the city to Robert Archie Archuleta and Lois Lucille Archuleta, recognizing their outstanding contributions as educators, advocates, and mentors. Through their decades of work, Archie and Lois have inspired generations of leaders in our community and improved the lives of thousands of people. It is with great pleasure that I, Jacqueline M. Biskupski, on behalf of the residents of Salt Lake City, bestow this honor upon these 2 distinguished residents of our community. Thank you. Come on up. Oh.
Hey, I can see everybody. Thank you so much. And particular thanks to our mayor. I knew that Archie and Archie made a little team in front of that library. I didn't realize how deeply. Thanks again. And to each and every one of you, even though when people talk about many of the things I've done, there's always a skimp in it. So I always look at people and say, well, most of that is true, but not all of it. And now I told Lois when we received this announcement, as it blew our mind, first of all, we both ran around kind of goofy. But I told her, you must speak.
I'm extremely humbled. I didn't really know what to expect, and to feel the love and the energy in this room, and think back over the years. For 24 years, I worked in this building and made lots of friends and did lots of things. And he would do the things that he was interested in, and I would do the things I was interested in. But we always supported each other in everything we did. And it worked out. And so just thank you all and love to all of you. I think it would be kind of remiss not to kind of say, I go to Centenary United Methodist Church, and I came there as a teenager in 1954, 18, scared to death to go to Westminster. And that family took me in, and that church has been my family also through all these years. Thank you.
One last thing. We want to present this key to all of us. For each one of you that is sitting here has in some way or another played a part in many of the things that both Lois and I did. This belongs to you as well because you were there. You've been part of that history. You've been part of that movement, and the movement is still going on, and by God, we need it. So thank you all so very much.
What was that? I didn't hear it.
I said, can I be the first one to take it home tonight?
Thank you. And good. By the way, at the last thing, the Democratic caucus at the state legislature gave me a really nice petition, not petition, just a letter of thanks. Thank you.
So I have a little surprise for Lois and Archie, so please stay up front here for just a minute. So you heard about the 60th wedding anniversary, and unfortunately I cannot be there. But one of the requests that was made was that they did not want people to bring gifts, but they asked that people donate or bring a can of food for Urban Crossroads Center. And I have a little gift for you.